Well, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. My name is Michael Gault. I'm an eminent domain attorney with Carrington. And if you're here watching this video, then obviously you've received some information from our firm or otherwise found out about our brief virtual town hall with the Powderhouse Road Connector Project. So let me take a few minutes here at the outset. I'll put my information into the chat box so that if you happen to have questions throughout this town hall, you can have my information to reach out to me directly. I'll be glad to speak with you or have someone on our eminent domain team reach you directly to answer your questions. You'll find if you look through our YouTube page that usually these town halls, these virtual town halls are live. So we are able to give our potential impacted landowners the opportunity to enter questions over in the chat box. Unfortunately, as you can tell today, I've been kicked out of my normal office. We've had some unforeseen construction. So I'm recording this a little early, still Thursday, January 23rd, just a little bit before our 6 o'clock scheduled time. But I wanted to hop on so that those of you that were expecting to find this video can find it when you log in later. And then you'll have my name, email address, direct line, and our eminent domain team's landing page, where you'll find a number of avenues to be able to reach out to us, to ask questions, to schedule consultations, or find some more information on this project. So bear with me just 1 second while I enter this information. Through those avenues, you'll certainly be able to have ways to connect with me or our team should you want more information on this project or how it might impact your property. But let's just dive right into it. We like to offer these virtual town halls to provide some brief eminent domain background information about what that process and procedure looks like, and then how, as eminent domain attorneys, we are usually able to assist landowners through this process. Again, if you're here today, you know that we're talking about the Powderhouse Road Connector Project. And if you're interested in that project, it means that you live in, around, or work in or around the area where this road project is going forward. This project is a little bit different because it's being controlled primarily by the city of Aiken as opposed to the SCD or DOT or a county level project. But essentially, this project is designed to widen about a quarter of a mile stretch of Powderhouse Road southeast from where it meets East Pine Log Road down to Kirkwood Drive. There'll be new 5-foot sidewalks added and a general turn lane and intersection improvement project there. And then the main impact to many of the landowners will be the brand new approximately 1.1 mile road that will connect Powderhouse Road to the existing South Centennial Connector. And the goal of this project is essentially to provide drivers another way to get from East Pine Log over to Whiskey Road. We know, you know, that if you live, work, or travel in this area, that those sections are congested, they're busy. And this project is designed to increase safety and to relieve some congestion along those stretches of roadway. That's the good news. We know that city officials and state officials and county officials, when dealing with infrastructure like this and when seeing the ways that areas like Aiken are growing, they have a responsibility to complete road projects. And we recognize that, and we support the majority of those road projects, especially when they help to improve safety and congestion. Unfortunately, for a number of landowners that own property along the existing roadways, and certainly those that own property near where the newly constructed road is going to run through, these road projects impact your property adversely. Naturally, those that live along existing roads, as those roads are widened or new sidewalks are added, private property will be needed to complete the project. And the landowners where the entirely new road is going through, some of those will be bisected. They'll be split in half or worse. And sometimes the utility of those particular tracts of land ceases to exist in the after these road projects are completed. And so those are some of the rights and some of the concerns that we have for landowners when we look at the potential development for projects like this. one of the first and most important questions that we receive from landowners is, can the government do this? Can they take private property for a public purpose? And the short answer is yes. Anytime that there is a public purpose, which a new road or a road improvement project is often designated as a public purpose, then the government can take private property to make sure that those projects are completed. In short, that's what's known as the government's right to eminent domain. They can claim eminent domain over private property for those public purpose projects. Now, that doesn't mean that you're without rights as landowners. In fact, that leads often to our second most asked question, which is, what are my rights as a landowner? And the answer is, your most important is the right to just compensation. Essentially, that means that even though the government has the right to take your property for a public purpose in many situations, they have to pay you fairly and adequately for the land that they're taking from you. That determining what is just compensation, is not simple. There's no formula for it. You can't put in a math equation and hit enter and have it pop out the true amount of just compensation. What is the fair market value of the land that they're taking? That question can often be complicated. We have to look to the current use of the land. Is it residential? Is it vacant? Is it commercial, industrial? How will that use be impacted in the future? How does access change, if any? Does the noise pollution increase? Does the potential safety of the property decrease? All of those things go into our team's analyzation of how the property is used today, how it might be used in the future, and how the value is impacted because of a project like this. And that's what we focus on. We have a number of lawyers and support staff that do nothing but represent landowners in cases like this. And so they have great experience in identifying the impacts to these properties, and even more experience in identifying those impacts and going to the necessary governmental party, in this case, the city of Aiken, to advocate for our landowner clients and to ultimately try to negotiate an outcome that compensates the landowner fairly and adequately for what the government is taking from them. These are not what we call arm's length transactions. These are rarely willing sales of property, and instead it's the government oftentimes taking property. And so we have to fight for our landowner clients to make sure that even though the government can take it, they still have to pay the landowner appropriately for it. At Bell Carrington, we are fortunate to have some proprietary software that will allow us in real time, while we are on the phone during our initial consultation, to find your property in our GIS software, to look at the project overlay, and to be able to tell you briefly in detail what we believe the impact to your property might be. We'll be able to see the current use, any development that might be on the property now. We'll be able to see the current access into and out of the property that you have now, and we'll be able to tell you if we believe that any of that is changing. And so relatively quickly, during a short initial consultation, which is always no cost and no obligation, somebody on our team can pull up your property, look at it in real time, tell you what the impact is, and if we think that we might be able to help you in a case, in a potential eminent domain or condemnation case going forward. The second major point of concern that landowners often have before calling us or another lawyer is attorney's fees. They're often concerned about, well, if I'm having to pay some outrageous or exorbitant hourly rate or retainer fee to a lawyer, then ultimately the benefit to me might not exist. Fortunately, at Bell Carrington, in our eminent domain practice, we've found a contingency fee basis. That means that our fee is a percentage of the amount of just compensation that a landowner receives over and above their initial offer from the governmental actor. That's complicated, but essentially it means that the landowner will never have to pay us out of pocket. There'll be no hourly fees. We don't charge retainers. It's purely a percentage of the amount of just compensation recovered. And ultimately, if we're not successful in increasing the amount of just compensation to the landowner, then the landowner is under no responsibility for any attorney's fees on our end. And we feel like that oftentimes creates a win-win solution for landowners to be able to have some competent representation with experience in eminent domain matters, while not having to be worried about racking up a huge out-of-pocket bill, having to come out of pocket to pay a huge retainer fee, or worry about their lawyer charging them some outrageous fee by the hour to work on their case. It aligns our interest, and we are able to go to bat for you to make sure that the real impact to your property is accounted for, and ultimately that you're compensated for it. The process works as follows. We're going to be getting into the right-of-way acquisition phase on this project in the coming months, from late spring into early summer, according to the county schedule. And we anticipate that many of you will start being contacted by appraisers or inspectors to do the initial appraisal on your property, and then they will make you that initial offer if your property is impacted. Following that, there'll be a period of negotiation, more than likely, with a right-of-way agent, someone acting on behalf of the government to help you explore the options when it comes to your property. Rarely do those negotiations go for the landowner's benefit, and that's where we like to be involved, to make sure that you're not being taken advantage of, and to make sure that the offers that you're receiving are fair and that you're receiving good legal advice throughout that process. Ultimately, if those negotiations fail, then the next step is the filing of condemnation. That is essentially a legal action where the government can take control of the interest in a property that they need to complete the project. They deposit some money with the court system, and then those negotiations continue up and until potentially the landowner has the option to have a jury trial to determine the amount of just compensation. Those are 10,000-foot views, very complicated steps that are likely well into the future, but that's the main step-by-step process through eminent domain into condemnation in South Carolina. So we like to be involved from day one. In many cases, we like to be involved prior to the initial appraisal and offer so that we can give our clients good advice, so that we can identify those impacts. And in some cases, we can ask for those impacts to be altered or amended if the condemning authority can find a way through engineering to help us with potential impacts. They like to do that sooner rather than later. It's not always possible in every case, but it's possible in some cases. So I'll wrap it up there. We like to keep these things 10 or 12 minutes. I know that your evenings are busy, and if you're anything like me, your attention is short. But we do this all the time at Bell Carrington. We have a team of folks, lawyers and staff, dedicated to helping landowners in eminent domain matters. I can't begin to answer all of your questions in detail in a forum like this. Everybody's impact will be different. It depends on the type and nature of the current parcel and what the impact of the property will be versus what you use it for now and what you'll use it for in the future. And so we can help you with that. We can identify those impacts. We can walk you through what our fee structure might look like based on your individual property and impact, and your parcel may look like. Again, Michael Gault with the Bell Carrington Eminent Domain team. You can see my name, email, phone number, and our eminent domain website on the right-hand side of the chat box. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll connect with you personally, or I'll be glad to set you up with someone from our team if I'm not available. I'd like to thank you for your time and consideration, and hope to hear from you and work with some of you soon. Thanks.